This is GKW. Welcome to another edition of Good Karma Wrestling. I'm back this week. Gabe Neitzel, ESPN Milwaukee. We've got the whole gang together. Brian Rowitz from ESPN West Palm. And catch him on ESPN 1000 in Chicago. He is Jonathan Hood. Boys, good to be back. We've got plenty of things to dive into. Wrestle Dream is coming up. But we also just had Bad Blood in WWE. CM Punk defeating Drew McIntyre inside Hell in a Cell, which, interestingly enough, kicked off the show instead of potentially being the main event. It ends up going on first, put on a tremendous match. And then on Monday Night Raw, the first 2-hour Raw that we are going to be getting here through the end of the year, CM Punk seems like he's taking some time off, stepping away. Not see anything from Drew McIntyre, though, although plenty of pictures on social media of those staples in his head after taking the toolbox to the dome in that Hell in a Cell match. Which brings us to this question. What's next for Drew McIntyre?
Drew McIntyre is going to be a babyface. And I don't know who his next opponent is going to be. The one thing we do know is that Drew McIntyre can thrive, Gabe, without being surrounded, in a championship quandary. Like, it's not about a championship. It's not about a belt. His character can just march on in WWE against whomever. When you had this kind of heel work, the next step is for you to be a babyface. And I think that, Brian, a lot of people have respected McIntyre for what he's done over the last 10 plus months with CM Punk.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's why you look over the Raw roster and there really isn't anything that makes sense for him. I do think a world title is in his future. I think he deserves that. I don't see that over Gunther on Raw. I feel like you find a way to get him to SmackDown, and now all of a sudden the Cody title run is interesting, and I would even let Drew beat Cody. And you do something there. Maybe he gives it back to Cody before Mania, but figure out that, put a world title on him because he is deserving everything he's done over this past year or so.
Drew on SmackDown, I think, would be wildly interesting. Now, I guess that all depends upon what's going to happen with Cody Rhodes and the Bloodline story.
Sure.
If he's going to be continued to be involved there, which would be, we'll get to that later. But I think having Drew McIntyre take a little time off, which again, when you've got, 12, 18, some
double-digit staples, over 10.
Yeah. 10 staples in your head. So, maybe taking a couple weeks off isn't a bad thing, but I think it's a good thing for both these guys to kind of take a step back and, kind of recharge after having a feud that lasted, all 10 months here, or almost, almost a calendar year. I mean, when you start
it started at the Rumble, we would say, right? With the injury.
Yeah, I would say it's starting at the Rumble. So 9-10 months it's been going on. So taking a step back, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing for either, but I don't think, especially for Drew, coming off of the loss, I don't think you want to keep him away for too long. And I understand the babyface thing, and he certainly can do it. I'm really enjoying heel Drew McIntyre, though, JHood. And I think that there are a lack of really strong heels outside of Gunther right now in WWE. I mean, you've got the Bloodline, you've got Gunther, and then you've got Drew right there. So if they find a way to get involved in a world title picture, I don't think that's a bad thing.
We always go to the championship. Hey, you've done great work. You deserve to be a champion. And we know that the start of this thing is Drew McIntyre trying to chase for a championship, but then CM Punk cuts him off at the pass every time. Goes for a championship. He is the champion for 30 seconds before he gets cashed in on. I think it's funny. Before we started recording this podcast, we looked at the calendar for WWE. So if we're trying to get Drew McIntyre in the mix with Cody Rhodes, Brian, so what's the calendar for WWE? I mean,
Survivor Series late November,
yeah,
Raw on Netflix January 6th, and then the Rumble is technically February 1st.
I mean, you have time to storytell, and he doesn't have to rush back for me. He's been solid. He's done the work. He deserves to have some time. Punk definitely deserves some time. He looked beaten up. He looked bad the other night that we saw him. So whenever he comes back, comes back. But I just want to say that when we do our year-end awards, he's definitely in the vying for Wrestler of the Year because he's done some of the best work in WWE.
Well, to your point, I agree with Gabe. I think him as a heel works, and on Raw, the only way you have him chase the heel is maybe take the IC title off Jey Uso, which I feel like we've seen. To your point about him being a face and getting some time off, could they push it to the Rumble? We see him return there as a face, and then him and Gunther at Mania?
then we'll go back to square one, right? He's always want the world championship. That's
Right.
it. So he goes right back there. But he would definitely be the babyface in that spot. And he doesn't have to sing American Pie and be in Scotland to get that done. You do it right here in America.
All right.
Who are they bringing in to sing with him? That's the question. Who are they going to bring in to sing with him? Look, I especially with Raw being 2 hours, I think if you watched Raw, I think they had their struggles trying to figure out the timing of everything. A lot of commercials happening during some matches, and I know some people were kind of upset about that. They're going to take as they transition,
division going back 10 years, like, oh, there's women in the back, 10-way, go, everyone go out there, like, hit your spot.
So I think it's going to take them some time to try to reconfigure how Monday Night Raw looks, and as much as we've been clamoring for this as fans, because times Raw can feel overbloated, like having two of your bigger stars in CM Punk and Drew McIntyre off, I think that's going to help them figure out what Monday Night Raw is going to look like for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Absolutely.
So again, so he doesn't have to rush back. Like that's where I'm at. So if you hold him out until the Rumble, or at least start some teasers in January, I mean, I'm guessing he'd probably want to be back for that first Monday Night Raw on Netflix.
Sure.
But I would assume he would want to be a part of that. Who knows how long that episode ends up being? I know Triple H didn't really give an answer to that when he was asked about it. But I do not have a problem with that. Drew McIntyre is a big enough star at this point where he's not going to disappear or get lost in the shuffle if he's gone for the next 2 or a month and a half.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, from a storyline standpoint, like, this has done an awesome job of being top of the card, even though it had to open this weekend. Like, that's why I feel like he needs to be around the world title. Him winning one of the mid-card titles doesn't do it for me. Like, him beating a Jey Uso or him beating an LA Knight if he goes to SmackDown some way, like, that doesn't do it. Like, I feel like if it's a title, it has to be the top one for him at this point.
I would agree. Just the way he's been built, just for him to and again, this is no shot at the others that have championships, but it's about status. And it's about work that's been put in, time that's been put in. And Drew McIntyre has done some of the best work in WWE. It's not just, it's easy to do it in front of the camera. Like, all right, we got to do this promo. We want you to wrestle this match. It's on his own time. It's in his backyard. Right. It's him walking to a bakery in Chicago just to troll CM Punk. That means that you're going above and beyond and sending in the file to WWE. Like, hey, I shot this, put this on, online, and put this on the TV show. That's great stuff.
Yeah, really which is why they need to be careful about what creative they come up with him next. Which, again, taking a step away is not a bad thing, because this thing was so good. Like, if you throw him in a bad feud with, I'm trying to think of a random baby face on Raw, right? Like, it's just not going to have the same, like, it's just not going to have the same feeling.
You mean like the Wyatt Six?
Oh yeah, that's right. There's still a thing.
You said a bad baby face.
Yeah. But like if they throw him into some sort of feud with Otis, like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, like, it has to be really good. It has to be really well thought out. Of, okay, what are his next moves? And maybe it is just, okay, I've been knocked down to the bottom, and now he has to crawl his way back up to the top, and he ends up in a world title feud. But also, if we're talking about WrestleMania, you mentioned, maybe Gunther will still be the champ then. Like, I got to imagine they want to get CM Punk in one of these main events of WrestleMania sooner rather than later. And to me, that means CM Punk potentially winning the Royal Rumble, because that's, I mean, again, before they teased that they were maybe going to break away from Drew, and he cut the promo, and then hey, I said when I came here, didn't make friends. I came here to make money. I want to win championships. I want to main event WrestleMania. Like, that's still a thing for Punk as well. And I just don't see Drew being in the main event picture of WrestleMania either night, because he lost this feud to CM Punk.
Yes.
But you don't think it's Punk Rollins at Mania?
I do think it's that. And I think one of them is the champ.
Wow.
Well, that's some long-term storytelling there. I'm glad they had that face-to-face, because that just plant the seed. And I love that, because it's a callback. Yeah. It's like, because we haven't seen Seth, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's right. They hate each other for real.
Oh, yeah. Seth can't control himself. I forgot about that.
Well, that's right. I feel like Raw's in a weird spot where almost all their stories are wrapped up as of Saturday. Like, Bad Blood was sort of the Judgment Day stuff, the Punk stuff. Like, this is where they hit that reset of before, they have the Saudi show, which they're throwing the gimmick title out there. And then ultimately we get Survivor Series, which feels like what they're doing at Crown Jewel, but that's another story. So maybe it is time to start fresh.
Well, you know what? It is. I think you hit it, Brian. It is a resetting for the WWE. You know why it's a resetting for the WWE? It seems like now it's a season premiere, and it usually would happen in October anyway, right? You know why it's a resetting? Because The Rock showed up in Atlanta.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. So now we're in WrestleMania season. Even though that's not until next year, the point is, like, it starts with him. And we'll talk about The Rock later, but just the point is, like, him showing up is like, okay, shit's about to change. Here we go. Here comes Netflix. Here comes Royal Rumble. There's going to set this whole bloodline stuff with Cody and everything. And so it starts building the blocks toward WrestleMania.
And everything kind of builds off of there. Like, where do you go? You know, and again, I think that's where, okay, whose card is going to be filled up? Maybe they don't even have anything for Drew. I don't know, because you had Gunther talking about the long-term storytelling and how committed Triple H is to it. I just don't see, like you mentioned, okay, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. Definitely see that happening. Gunther, who knows if he's the champ at that point. Obviously, we see Cody somehow being involved in all the bloodline drama that's happening. I don't know if we're still going to be dragging out, you know, the Terror Twins versus Judgment Day at that point, since that got dragged out a little bit more during Bad Blood. So all the top stars outside of Drew McIntyre, it feels like the dance card is filling up quick as it seems pretty obvious the direction some of these are going.
By the way, you mentioned the Triple H press conference. You know, it's probably a good idea to stop these things, because if you can't take a shoot question, look, all three of us are in sports, and you know that there's going to be questions for, like, general managers, head coaches, players. They don't know what's going to be asked. But in this whole thing, this contrived thing that we talk about every week that's called wrestling, if you can't take a shoot question and answer it properly, man, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Honest to God. If someone says, hey, over the last 3 PLEs, you haven't had an African-American on the card, is there a reason? Well, the simple answer is, well, you know, we're doing storytelling. We have so many superstars we're trying to get on these PLEs. We don't have a lot of slots. But the point is, though, is that we covered all our talent, no matter what race they are. And we are going to move forward with the direction that we're going in as a company. But we don't shirk anybody. We don't set anyone aside based on race. We just feel really good about our roster. I don't see race. That's what we got. And it's kind of like, brother, like, you know, it just like, man, like you have to do better. You have to be better than this. Like, he can't answer a Vince question, can't answer a question about the racial makeup of your company. Gabe, like, you have to be prepared for these things.
If you're going to open yourself up to the media, like, you can't just use these as, and they're always so weird because you don't know, you know, and I'm not even sure how much of the wrestlers are, well, sometimes they're answering in character. Sometimes it's a serious question. They answer out of character. It's not really clear what the purpose of these things are. But when when an executive in this company steps up, the man who's got the pencil steps up, like, there's not going to be storyline questions for you. This is all about how the business works. And you have to expect, I mean, maybe they don't answer the question, but if you watched Hard Knocks, if anybody out there watched the off-season Hard Knocks following the New York Giants, they had a PR person talking about, hey, here are some questions. They're getting Joe Shane, the GM of the Giants. Hey, here's some questions that they're probably going to ask you. So make sure you've got an answer for this. Make sure. And man, to see him answer that, and then it was juxtaposed all over social media when Cody was asked something similar. I think that was from Double or Nothing, the first AEW
from
pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was before.
Yes,
WWE.
it was. I want to say it was the first AEW pay-per-view. I think it was Double or Nothing, and the reason why I say that because he had like the blood in the beach blonde hair from the feud he had with his brother Dustin. So, and he talks about how, you know, he used to say that, but then with his wife said, hey, if you say that, that means you don't see my experience, and it's important to see that. So, like, at this point, I don't understand how in 2024, especially when you have Cody who answered the question like that now in your company, how you answer that the question like that. It just doesn't. It's just so disappointing because Hunter has done so many good things.
Yes.
And then he just fumbles it away when he steps up in a lot of these press conferences. It just doesn't seem like he's prepared. Like, this should be relatively easy. Like, this company makes enough money. There should be somebody in PR who goes, hey, maybe you should have an answer for when they ask this. Because if you pay attention online at all, just a little bit, and guess what? Most of the reporters, most of the media that are there have a big online presence.
And he swears that he does pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah. So you'd be prepared for a question like that at the press conference.
Yeah, like that's now twice where he's dropped the ball. Like you mentioned the Vince stuff where that was that week, the Rumble stuff where it was going on. It's baffling also because you could just not do these. Like this isn't a professional sport where the league's forcing you to do these. Like you can just say, no pressure today. Or you can just say, hey, these people that actually work for us are the ones asking the questions. They choose to do it. They choose to put themselves in front of the media where you think they're going to give something substantial and you get, oh, no, I don't see color. It's like, no, that's not what anyone's looking for.
Is this a TKO thing? Is this like a TKO thing where they want to make it seem more legitimate? Much like, because they have the pressers after the big fights with UFC. And is this a TKO thing? Or
look at the other side. Look at what comes out of the UFC ones. Dana gets combative. Dana bans media members from it. And it's this whole big thing about how they can't actually ask questions. And it is, essentially state-run media. Like, that's not what we're going for here if you're going to do it.
Is this, because WWE didn't really do these. They used to every once in a while. But, I can't remember the last time they did. Is this because AEW started doing these?
I want to say yes. I believe that is the case. Because I want to say that I don't remember WWE press conferences like this before AEW came about. That's what I believe. And I do think, Gabe, it is a TKO thing because if UFC does it, WWE does it. It's just that, again, it's just it comes across very tone deaf, just on a number of different levels, different fronts. They're never asked this within the WWE universe with their reporters and their stuff. But then outside of it, man, you got to realize, and here's Triple H who searches Twitter as much as Tony Khan. It's just that Triple H doesn't clap back at people like Tony Khan has in the past. That's the only difference. But he's aware of what's out there. But just like, I'd rather not see it. I just think that's just the thing is very strange.
That the whole experience is like the couple I've been to where like you're inviting fans in, like the Rumble one, like DDP's in the crowd asking Cody questions. Like Gabe said, like some of it's in character. Like it's just very odd. Whereas AEW, 90% of them are not in character. Then you have like Tony Storm being Tony Storm.
Yes.
So like you add that.
But that's even weird, like,
yes.
That's to me, that's even weirder. Like nobody is, but like Tony's not going to break character, which part of me respects. Like the whole thing is just.
Like I saw a clip from this week where Liv Morgan comes out and she's like, oh, that wasn't a good enough reception. She goes back out and she's like, oh, you're going to do it better this time. And like, these are media members. And it's like, it made me cringe. Where it's like, what are we doing here? Like, what is the point of this?
Well, that's, again, it's like when a new coach gets hired in college and like, there's some media there, but there's other not media. And then they get a standing ovation because they're getting introduced. Like I think of when Brett Bielema went to Arkansas and he did the Woo Pig Suey thing. I'm like, this is a press conference. What the hell are we doing?
He did that here when he took the Illinois job. So glad to be here. Really enjoy to be here. ILL. And then the media's like, what?
Like, no, we don't chant along with you, Brett.
We're not giving you I. We're not doing that. like, no. Win some games. Maybe.
Not how any of this works. So yeah, they're weird. But sometimes you get information, sometimes you get terrible answers like we got there from Triple H. So many other things to dive into in the world of professional wrestling. We call it the 3 count here on GKW. Brian, what do we have at number 1 this week?
Right, the main event of Bad Blood saw Cody and Roman beat Solo and Fatu and the return of The Rock. We also saw KO turn on Cody. Should we call it off camera? Didn't appear on WWE television. It was all built by social media. So we'll ask this. What is the most interesting question in the Bloodline story?
Before I answer that, first of all, you mentioned it. I mean, tip of the cap to WWE for not having cameras out there. Just a really cool moment. Again, Triple H understanding how social media works and like, hey, fans will capture this for us. They'll put it out there. It'll seem more organic, seem more real. And, the fact that Tessitore even cut off Wade Barrett when he wanted to talk about it on Monday Night Raw. Oh, no, I don't mean to cut you off, but here's the official statement, like he's towing some sort of company line about it. Fantastic. Great things there. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. To me, what is the most interesting question in the Bloodline story is, okay, who's siding with Roman? I can't imagine The Rock is siding with Roman because we still have to get Rock versus Roman at some point. So I would assume that The Rock is on the side of Solo Sikoa. So who else is going to be involved? We got one of the answers with Jimmy and his surprise return at Bad Blood. Is Cody still going to be involved? Or is Cody going to move on? Like, are we not going to see Cody potentially defend that championship until the first Raw of the Netflix era? Are we going to go? I mean, when's the last time he defended? Because if he's embroiled in this,
Right.
I got to imagine, obviously, well, he's going to fight Gunther, but the title's not on the line at Crown Jewel. If they're doing some sort of, they're going to be involved in War Games and Survivor Series, won't defend it there. Can't imagine he's going to be defending it on TV. Like this could be a situation where the World Championship just kind of gets lost in the Bloodline story again.
Just to, let me just piggyback on the shout out that you gave to the WWE, in which, and for those that did not see this, I mean, it's been on all of social media, but just for those that have not seen it, here's Cody Rhodes going to his bus. And by the way, if you're looking for violence, and Cody Rhodes is always around his bus, ask The Rock. It's always around the whole thing. So he's still in his gear, Cody. He's on his way to his Wheatley, whiskey bus. And then here comes Kevin Owens. And Owens, again, you can't hear what's happening, but you could see Kevin Owens is pretty distraught. He's pissed off. He doesn't understand why, again, Cody is teaming with Roman Reigns. It should be him. Why not me? I'm your friend. And this has been building and building and building for a while, to the point where, okay, you know what? KO's had enough, and he starts beating the crap out of Cody Rhodes. What's so great is, and who knows, WWE might have had a staffer just in case no one else saw this. We'll take, but it was great that it was a fan cam. And this is a callback. I know this is a deep cut, but it's a callback to Dusty Rhodes and Ole Anderson in Georgia Championship Wrestling. There was this long build, and I didn't obviously see it because I didn't have satellite back then in 1980 to know. But I read about what happened at Georgia Championship Wrestling. Ole was this baby face, which is wild, by the way. You ever see Ole Anderson? Babyface, that guy? Like, how? How could I say I've got a foam finger for Ole Anderson? Number one. that old bastard? Are you kidding me? Anyway, so he's a babyface, and he's teamed with Dusty Rhodes. And so they have this friendship, but it's been building and building to the point where Ole gets on there on TV and says, Gordon Soley, move out of the way. I got you, Dusty. I got you after all these years. That's just a callback. It wouldn't surprise me if Cody brought this up as something he wanted to do with KO. Now, as you just mentioned with Crown Jewel, I don't care about this match. I don't care about this match with Gunther and Cody. That's never been
a big title. That doesn't do it for you?
We have never talked about this on the show. We don't care about that match. We never thought about that as a dream match. And it's in the way of what I want to see with Cody and KO. So it's in the way. Move that out of the way. I want to see.
Does Goldberg involvement make you care more? Because you might get that.
You know what I want. Yeah, you know what I want. As Bautista says, give me what I want. I want to see now how this whole thing with KO and Cody develops. Brian, that's it. But now you have to wait. There'll be a little breadcrumbs, but then you got to get through Crown Jewel because the Crown Prince says so. And then it's Cody against KO, and then Cody against the Bloodline. It's kind of like, here's the thing that's effed up about this. When you had that match in Nice, France, or France, wherever they had, that's the match.
Yeah.
As KO as a heel, not as a baby face. That would have been a better match and more heat. But what do I know?
Yeah, I feel like we still get that again. Like maybe somehow Cody's out of the War Games match. I don't know if you could. I mean, I guess you could always find Samoans in the back to add to Roman's team. Like to me, I mean, you got to build out the team. 4-4, 5-5, however you do it.
Thank you, Paul Levesque. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Find more Samoans.
You're up. But like KO getting a title run is sort of intriguing to me right now. But in terms of like the Bloodline aspect of it, I want to see more of them treating wrestling fans as if they're not stupid. And the KO part is a great part of that, where it's not KO, but like, all right, you're teaming with him. It's like, no, these guys suck. These guys have been giving me a hard time for years now. Why are you just teaming with them? I want to see the explanation from Jimmy. I want to see the explanation from Jay if we eventually get there of why they're now willing to go team with Roman after all the stuff they've been through the last year. Whether or not we get that is up in the air, but I hope we do.
I'm sorry I had that preamble, but I had to talk about that, all the stuff that Gabe talked about. So the answer to the question is, whose side is Rock on? and I don't know that for a fact. I don't know what side, because he does the whole thing 1, 2, 3, cuts the throat, and then leaves.
Yeah.
Who's he talking about there? What side is he on?
Well, so there was another social media video out there from a fan that when The Rock's music hits, Solo is turning to, I don't know which member of the new Bloodline it was, if it was Fatu or, Guerrillas of Destiny, whoever, where he said this is all part of the plan. So that would seem to hint that, he thinks The Rock is on his side. Or maybe, it's entirely possible that Rock is on Roman's side and we just get 4-on-4 at Survivor Series, right? Where it's Rock, Roman, they already have Jimmy, they recruit Jay, and then you have Guerrillas of Destiny, Fatu, and Solo.
We're sure we're sure Jay's part of this, right? Are we sure?
Think?
I
don't know how he's not.
Okay. He's having a party every Monday night, man. He's doing his own thing.
Yeah, look, I understand, but also I think he's probably going to be dropping that IC title back to Braun Breaker here.
Well, that's the thing. Like, him being involved almost feels like a step back for him now.
Well, correct. But Gabe laid it out, though. We thought, see, it's so funny how this stuff works so fast. People online, Braun Breaker, babyface. No, F that. I'm back.
Yeah, that was Big Show-esque. Like, what are we doing here?
It was Big Show-esque. Because people thought, because it was weird. It was in Evansville, right? And so it's like the handshake. It's like, I respect you. And then just nothing. And then he turns around and just attacks Uso again. Like, what happened there?
Well, to your story, Gabe, so you're putting The Rock in War Games?
I mean, he kind of has to be at this point, right? I mean, if he's showing up, yeah. If he's showing up now, he's in War Games, baby. He's part of it.
I don't know if he'll survive. I don't know if he'll stay. I can't see him being healthy coming out of that. I'm serious. Like, I don't think
there's a way you can protect him where he's the last one who comes in. He's in there the least amount of time. Takes a garbage can to the head, and he's just laying in the corner for a while.
It's a garbage can to the head. Okay.
Yeah. It's like gimmicked. It's gimmicked.
Okay. Don't get Jimmy Corderas out here now. Be careful now. Corderas is watching. Careful. Was it a shoot garbage can, or is it
a shoot? Yes.
Okay. All right. People get sensitive about this stuff now.
Yeah, no. I mean, you got to be able to make fun of it, right? If you can't make fun of it, it's not pro wrestling.
It seemed to make sense, and then you have Rock turn on Roman there.
Correct. Yes,
okay.
I think and then I would have then Roman, yes, and then that's how you set up Rock Roman. Maybe that's the at the Netflix one, or sure. I'm not quite sure how it's all going to work. But I mean, obviously, initially I thought Cody could be involved in War Games, but the KO thing. That just muddies the water, because I don't think you can put. Yeah, I'm 100% fine with. I've said it so many times. The only interesting things that Cody has ever done has been involved with the Bloodline. It's with WWE. I mean, the Brock thing was fine, but the best work he's ever done is with the Bloodline. This thing with KO is actually interesting. Let him go do that. Let him go figure that out. As hey. You guys got to figure out your Bloodline thing. I've got my own stuff to worry about. I helped you out one night, Roman. I got to go take care of this. You're on your own now. Like, I think that makes a ton of sense.
Boy, I tell you what, I love that there's all these different pieces on the chessboard, guys. It's something. This is the slowest game of chess. you make your move, and you're even slow to hit the clock. That's how slow this thing is moving. While AEW is doing checkers. Like, it is something, because you have all these different things, and all of it's got to culminate to WrestleMania at some point. Like I said, with KO, I think that you could have told that story faster, but that's not the direction they wanted to go to. Like, I heel, mean, old school Kevin Steen against Cody Rhodes. I'm all for that.
Hell yeah!
It's built for all this time. I'm ready for it.
But again, that would have been harder to tell quicker. Because Roman wasn't around.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it makes the most sense of Cody siding with Roman. And KO going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What the hell? This guy kicked the shit out of me how many times? What are we doing here? Like, why? I don't care if you think he's changed. Like, he doesn't change the crap he's done to me.
Yeah. And then you've got the Orton part of that story also. Like, we always assumed Orton was going to be the one to turn on Cody and you get that match. So you still have that dynamic. And Hood, you mentioned Mania. Like, we assume it's Rock Roman. Sometimes they seem to pivot away from the obvious. Like, is there a path where it's not those two at Mania? Maybe it is Raw on Netflix somehow. Like, I'm curious to see that path because we're still a while away from that right now.
No, you're right. You're right. You can tell that match. You can do that match anytime you want to. Mm-hmm. I just think that'd be a great way to start off Netflix. I think as Gabe has said for months here, like that's being involved.
Yeah. What's a bigger match for Netflix? Is it Rock Cody or Roman Cody? Or excuse me, Rock Roman or Rock Cody?
Ooh.
I think Rock Cody.
Rock Cody. I just don't know where I don't know where his loyalty lies. I have no idea.
Right.
I don't know. There's going to be some surprises coming out of this, which I think is really fun. But that's my big question. Like, I don't know what he means. What is he saying? And once again, it's always good for him to just take a sip of alcohol, get behind the wheel, and and have that ZZ Top playing and drive off as he did in Atlanta.
God, his social media promo game is just so on point.
It's
trash talking John Cena backstage. I love you. I hate your son. To Dusty Rhodes.
So like, good, man.
Fantastic. Like
the Fruity Pebbles drop talking to Cena.
Yeah, this version of The Rock is just the best version of The Rock, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad we get this version of The Rock.
He's in his bag. This is a different Rock, actually. This is just semi-retired and just comes out there with that Muhammad Ali People's Championship belt. Not very impressive, by the way, the little belt compared to the crown jewel.
The crown, yeah. That's maybe he needs to show up there, give Cody the rock bottom, and walk away with the crown jewel belt. Just take another championship for himself. What do we care?
That's the grandest
fake championship.
It's the grandest championship in the world. Look how big that thing is. Like, what is going on? Like, when Triple H went out there and unveiled it, it's just like, oh God, what are you, AEW? Do you need but here's the thing. That's that country. They wanted it. I'm sure WWE didn't want it. They wanted it. And it's like, okay, you're going to pay us for it. We'll have a crown jewel championship for men and women. Sure. And again, on the women's side, also a match we didn't ask for.
No.
Anybody asked for Nia Jax against Liv Morgan?
No. But hey, they're telling us it's a skippable PLE, so we're fine. It's college football season. Like,
you can't.
See you at Survivor Series.
We can't do that anymore.
Well,
we can't. There was a time when this show started. We skipped Crown Royal.
Yeah,
or Royal. The Crown
Jewel. Crown Jewel. Yeah, well, looks like we're going back to the old ways.
We're back,
baby. Crown Jewel doesn't matter even a little bit in the grand scheme.
How about a sip? How about we pour a little something here? There we go.
What do we got at number 2 this week, Brian?
All right, in the AEW world this weekend, it is Wrestle Dream in Tacoma main event. Bryan Danielson defends the title against Jon Moxley. Does Bryan Danielson lose this weekend?
Okay. So my gut says no, but at the same time, the only way he doesn't lose is it's got to be some sort of schmozzy finish or even a DQ finish, which is going to feel empty for everyone there. So I don't think AEW is going to do that either.
They're not going to bring in Raquel Rodriguez to have that finish?
Yeah.
Or, as Triple H said at the press conference, Gonzalez.
Oh, did he really?
So now the whole thing's messed up. I don't see color, and I don't know what her real last name is. Rodriguez or Gonzalez. The best.
Well, he knows what her real last name is. He doesn't know. Yeah. So I also don't think that they have Moxley lose if Moxley's supposed to be this big. So I lean towards Bryan Danielson is going to lose this weekend. Although I have no idea, which is great. That's fantastic. This is the first time I felt like he could lose. And I think it's fantastic. Much like with what we were just talking about with the Bloodline. So much of pro wrestling can be predicted. And I don't have a problem with that. A lot of times it ends up being a lot of fun.
Sure.
See the main event of WrestleMania. We knew it was going to be a schmozzy finish. We knew Cody was probably going to win. End up being a lot of fun anyways. But with the Bloodline and where it's at right now, and now with this storyline, I'm not quite sure when Bryan Danielson's going to lose. I don't know who's going to beat him. And that intrigue has me really locked into what that story is.
Yeah, you know what, Brian? This is not going to get a lot of clicks on YouTube. this segment here, because we don't know. We don't know. Because here's the thing: it's not about the match. It's not about. We don't understand what Bryan Danielson's future is, because he's a liar, and I don't know. I don't know if
he's a pro wrestler. Aren't they all liars?
I mean, just like I don't know if. Here's what I know. He obviously he's banged up, but also his knees are bad too. We come to find out this week. Like you think it's the whole thing with the neck and the tape that he's got on his neck, and like his knees are bad also. That's the report.
But he's still wrestling every week.
I understand, but I'm just. Yes, it would be poetry for him to drop it to Moxley at Wrestle Dream, and that's it. But you know what, though? This build has been the shits. This is a far cry from Sting, the way you do it the right way. And by the way, the reason why Sting worked is because Sting was in his 60s. People could understand, like, yeah, this is going to be the end in Charlotte. We have to go see this because this for real is the end. With Danielson, because we've had these fake retirements in wrestling for so often, people don't believe. They were just in Tacoma for Dynamite. I know Tough Night Tuesday, right? 1,700 people? That's in his own same area. And you would think this could be his last Dynamite, his last time wrestling on TV. Let's go support him. And Tacoma was like, nah, he'll be back. He'll be in Defy. We'll find him in Portland. So we'll just go like that. Seriously. So that's the whole thing, guys. People don't believe until they actually see it. To the point where, and you brought this up, Brian, a few weeks ago, this could happen in Japan. He could be done in Japan, in the place that he loves so much, in January. He could drop the title there. Who knows? But people don't believe, Gabe. That's the whole thing. Does it make sense for Jon Moxley to be champion? Yeah, because he's got the hottest stuff going on right now. The top of the hour of those, whatever this is, the Green Pants tour that he's got going on,
the Green Pants Brigade.
Yeah, whatever that is. I'm not sure but point is, though, that's good stuff. It's cinema. It's interesting. You like to see what's on the other side of this, but he loses to Jon Moxley. It seems a little flat.
Right. And that's saying, like, every time, by the way, I see those Moxley promos, I'm amazed that someone thought scripting him during promos was ever a good idea. But, that's neither here nor there. But that's the thing. We've talked a lot about what beating Bryan will do for someone's career. Mox doesn't need that. And that's why it almost feels like it is a no. And a lot of the intrigue and a lot of the fun going into Wembley was we had no idea whether he was going to beat Swerve. And that last Dynamite before, where he cut that promo and was passionate, and we're like, that could have been his last night. Like, that could have been his last Dynamite. You never know. And, like, you felt that, and that added to the match. This does feel flat. I'd say that about, honestly, most of this card on Saturday. So, to me, I don't think he loses, and I think ultimately that's what's taking away from the intrigue this weekend.
Well, to Gabe's point a few weeks ago when we did this whole thing with Darby Allin, Gabe said, can you believe this build they're doing with Moxley and whatever this group is going to be, and he loses to Darby Allin, and Moxley wins? So we go back to the same question. Your question is, can you believe that Moxley would lose against Bryan Danielson while they're trying to build up whatever this new thing is? That's the question.
Would you have believed more if this was Darby versus Bryan and they built towards that? Would your belief have been different coming into it?
No, because again, I just don't see Darby being. I honestly don't see Darby as the AEW World Champion,
even in his home state. Like finding a way to just put the belt on him and push him to the moon.
I don't see it. And honestly, the promo that he had cut on him, that was pretty good from Brody King.
Yes.
Like, hey, I don't take this for granted. Why don't you go climb Mount Everest? Ooh, okay, big fella. Oh, that should cut pretty deep. That's okay. I see where this one's going. So yeah, I don't see Darby Allin as so I don't think I would have bought it more. But again, it's not that, and I agree with you. Like, Mox doesn't need it. I was hoping that someone like our guy Daniel Garcia, who is staying with AEW and still would have been an intriguing option, but maybe because he dragged his feet, they couldn't do anything with him, right? Because until he signed his contract, until he decided that he was officially coming back, you couldn't get him in there. And now at that point, it's too late. Maybe he ends up, again, avenging that loss down the line for somebody that he always looked up to against Mox, and you can do something to give him a rub down the line there. But to me, even a schmozzy finish where Mox loses doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Like they're building
their style, though.
But I know, but they're building something here. And I'd love to see them actually get to the heights we thought the BCC could get to with this new group around Moxley. They're building something. They're teasing more of like, hey, this isn't just us. Like there's somebody else that's out there. Like they're teasing something. And I want to know what that is. And losing to Bryan Danielson with what Moxley's been, an absolute beast, would kind of undercut all of that.
So Wheeler helps Bryan Danielson retain the championship. That's the finish.
Yeah, I think so.
So it won't be clean, Gabe. It's not a clean finish. Actually, for Bryan, it should be. He deserves that kind of respect, but I kind of think that since they keep dangling Wheeler Judah in front of us, it seems like that there's going to be a slight left turn there, and then Moxley loses.
Well, eventually, Wheeler's going to turn, though, right? At least that's what I mean, his interaction, like maybe he does follow Claudio, because the interaction that they had backstage where Claudio said, hey, I'm still always going to have your back no matter what. Maybe Wheeler just follows Claudio in the end.
Or does this make him a bigger star? Like if he gets a pay-per-view win over Mox, the hell of a boost for him.
Brian, could you please check WrestleTix to the time? I just want to know what's the crowd's going to be like for this. Because if it's not sold out, even the backyard of Bryan Danielson does not believe this. They don't believe he's retiring, and that's the whole thing of all of this.
Well, but we know he's not actually retiring. He's retiring from the verbiage that they've used and went away from, but then started using again is full-time wrestler. Like he's going to wrestle again, I especially up there in the Pacific Northwest, I guarantee he's going to wrestle up there. Whether it's in some high school gymnasium somewhere, this guy's not going to be able to stay away, but he's not going to be doing, AEW week in and week out the way he is right now.
The last WrestleTix update a couple days ago, tickets distributed a little over 6,400. Last year they did 6,700. There's still about 900 tickets left.
That's not horrible. They're fine.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It'll get close to a sellout by the time
you
get to the pay-per-view. It's fine.
Or a 4:00 Pacific on a Saturday.
It'll be fine. Yeah, they'll
Big
sell
college
out.
football Saturday.
Well, I was about to say, especially because up in that neck of the woods, Ohio State's visiting up there. That's a pretty big game. Pretty big game happening on Saturday. So, and again,
this company is used to taking on all the competition.
Bring it all on.
Every game. Major League Baseball playoffs, college football, WNBA. They'll take on all of them. Ask the people at Collision.
They'll get their ass kicked each and every week, but they'll take it on.
And then the numbers come out. Oh, they were second. How? How are you second on the night? How? So I don't know.
Just stick with Wrestle Dream. Anything else on this card that you guys are looking forward to? 11 announced matches as of now. Mariah versus Willow, Bucks versus Private Party, Ospreay, Ricochet, Takeshita, Jack Perry versus Shibata, Mark Briscoe versus Jericho. Hangman Jay White.
I like Jay White back. I like Jay White being back. I'm intrigued by that.
Is that right?
I don't know.
Is M&M Collection on this card too against the Acclaimed? Is that the main card?
I think so.
When it got announced, I assumed it was going to be pre-show. But you never know. It's just you never know with Tony and how many matches he's going to put on the card.
It's Brian Cage versus whoever the ROH TV champ. That's 0 hour. Atlantis, I believe his name.
Don't do that. You come up with come on now.
I'm not paying the $9.99 a month. That's your department, Ring of Honor.
It is Atlantis Jr. against Brian Cage. Yeah.
Beast Mordos versus Hologram. 2 out of 3 falls.
That'll be fun. Look, this card's going to be fun.
Nobody asked for that. Nobody asked for 2 out of 3 falls.
Yeah,
those two.
With Jake the Snake is involved now.
Yeah, you know what? You're going to have a lot of fun, though? You're going to have a lot of fun watching that match.
Yeah, them jump.
Does it make sense that they're having the match? No. Does it make sense that Jake the Snake, somehow in a transaction, trading away Lance Archer, ended up with
LGILIG.
Yeah, whatever group that is that Roosh runs.
Right.
Does it make sense?
Why is Don Callis allowed to just trade human beings? I don't understand how that works. Like, did he have involvement with them?
That's as old as the hills in wrestling. You've seen this before.
Well, technically, I think Roosh was a part of the Callis family at one point.
Really? When did that happen?
That is a true story. No, that is correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What I get tired from AEW is stop hiring managers that can't get to ringside. Stop doing that. Like Jake couldn't make it down there. Hey, we're a group. Yeah, but you're 100 yards away. It's like, what do you mean? Get down
but then, okay, you want to talk about the Big Show flipping sides all the time. What the hell's going on with Chris Statlander? She's now away from Stokely and the face?
So I only saw this from Twitter. Again, you guys missing your department. Apparently it was explained on Rampage that they ended it. They had to deal with Willow. They dealt with Willow, and now they went their separate ways.
That's your fault, Gabe.
I know.
This is
why
me.
the show's
That is
canceled.
on me.
Could you stop watching? They're not on air now.
Well, once I found out it was getting canceled, I just didn't want to invest in it anymore, man. Like, they broke my heart. Where's MXM going to get featured now?
Honor Club.
I cannot believe that's on the main card, this M&M collection against the Acclaimed. That's so ridiculous, man.
Maybe it'll be 0 hour. You never know.
That's so ridiculous. Like hologram. So 2 out of 3 falls. He's actually going to lose, right? He's going to lose one of these falls?
No. Beast Mordos doesn't win matches.
And that's just ridiculous because that guy is over.
Yeah, he's the Dax Harwood of the Luchadors.
Puts on great matches. Just can never actually win one.
Right.
The Dax Harwood of Luchadors.
He should put that on his business card.
Great matches. He's got great matches. No question.
He's still that low. It's a perfect.
Love that guy.
It was a perfect description of what's going on.
He doesn't speak English. He doesn't know what's going on. He's got this big helmet on and just give you great matches, but just lose them all. That's the whole thing. And there's Hologram, who's undefeated. No one knows his identity, Hologram. He's in a match on Dynamite that nobody cared about.
No.
What a horrible crowd that was in Spokane. So we just talked about Daniel Garcia putting his heart out for everybody. Like, I'm coming back. To the average AEW fan, that's great news that he's coming back. Those fans couldn't have cared less. They didn't even understand. Like, oh, so your contract? I don't know.
My favorite part about that was they cut to the crowd. Nobody's standing. You have a couple people clapping. And Tony goes, oh, look at the crowd. Like,
nobody cared. We get the hologram match against Commander and just spot fest. And the crowd's just like, yeah, pretty good match there. Looks like a lot of speed. Like nothing. Like,
what if JR calls the hologram Beast Mordos match on Saturday?
Oh God. I hope he does. I hope cranky JR comes out there, red ass JR. I missed my flight twice. This is my 50th year in the business. Like, it'll be all that. It won't be about this match. I'll tell you that.
Nah.
What do we got at number 3 this week, Brian?
All right. The Undertaker on his podcast says he has told Gunther that back in the day, those two would have made a lot of money. So what's a current wrestler versus legend story that you could see one day making a lot of money? Fantasy booking here.
I mean, the biggest one is Stone Cold versus CM Punk, right?
I believe so, yes. That's what I had down.
That's one that, again, if Stone Cold ever said, yeah, I'm coming back, if WWE doesn't sign up Stone Cold versus CM Punk, then I don't know what we're doing. But I don't think Stone Cold wants to come back.
Nope. It's the win's got to be a certain way, and it's got to be in a certain city that he's close to. It's always specific for him for whatever reason. And I understand he doesn't want to embarrass himself. He feels like even though he's built now, man, he's not interested. So I wrote down. I have a few here. I wrote down FTR against the Midnight Express because I think that'd be a classic tag team match. It could be Eaton in Condrey or Eaton in Lane. Doesn't matter. I just think the Midnight Express against FTR is pretty cool. How about what if I gave you Will Ospreay against Ricky Steamboat? What do you think that would look like?
See, I think that would be great. I had a different one for Ospreay, but I like that one as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, give it to it. Ospreay against
HBK.
Yeah. I had HBK also.
Is HBK bouncing and pinballing all over the ring like he did against Hogan?
No. He is not overselling like Hogan. We're getting Mr. WrestleMania. We're getting, the showstopper. Yeah, that's
okay.
My favorite was when he gets thrown over the top rope and he's just like jumping, like and just throwing his shoulders and that's my favorite oversell of that match. Yes. By the way, as long as we're talking about it.
He hated being in there with Hogan. Hey pal, you're gonna get Hogan over. Oh, really? Well, I'm gonna shit on this match. How about that?
God. Oh, what a legend. I love that man.
Brian, you have I have a few, but go ahead.
Yeah. The other one I had women's division. What about obviously, defying fantasy and things like that, Rhea and Chyna?
See, I thought about that one too. That was one that I had kind of thought of Rhea. Rhea and Chyna would have been spectacular. Just two larger than life characters. Just think that the feats of strength that they could pull off in that match would have been incredible.
It's just, you could just tell the difference in eras. Like when we talk about sports and athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Chyna was good for her time, but limited.
Sure.
Yeah.
Imagine against Rhea Ripley. Oh my God. Like Chyna would just be like the statue against Rhea Ripley. Like that'd be something. The visual.
Hold still so I can body slam you.
Yeah. The visual would be like great, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like the visual would have been, like the poster would have sold a lot of tickets.
Yeah, man.
The other one I had, I think it would just be fun just to let them go an hour, is Bryan and Angle. Danielson and Angle.
I wrote down Bryan and Shawn Michaels.
Sure.
I don't think that they've wrestled, even though Bryan was trained by Shawn.
Yeah.
Bryan, you might have better research on that. I don't think that they wrestled each other.
No random indie show, like as Bryan's like barely trained.
Well, no, because why would HBK have been on some?
Yeah, like one of his own companies.
He had his own school though. Shawn had Texas All-Stars something. He had Texas All-Stars.
Yeah,
and he trained Bryan, but I don't know if I can't find a match between the two someplace in like a random VHS. I can't find that. But I think that'd be a fine match. I wrote down for a big man match, one man gang against Bronson Reed. To be very interesting, because the big man is stronger and faster now than just the clod that they would just bring in there. They would just dress up as a good wrestler.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think any of the old school big guys could hang around with a guy like Bronson.
Well, let me think about that now.
Like
I was gonna say not Bigelow.
Bam Bam would probably be the best option.
Holy shit! But Bigelow against Bronson Reed, like Reed is a tank. I get that.
Yeah,
but also moves fast. But then Bigelow was doing cartwheels at 400 pounds. I don't know.
I guess that's the only one that really could work.
Ooh, that'd be something. So not Kamala. That just say no Kamala in there?
I don't think so.
Kamala could hang with a Bronson Reed.
Speaking of Kamala, speaking of Bryan, have you seen that match? That's circled around the internet. Bryan somehow got a great match out of him.
Have you seen this, Gabe?
No, I have not.
Okay, I'm gonna send this to you. Kamala.
I've not seen Kamala. I've not seen it. No.
We're gonna send this to you.
And later in life, Kamala, so slower than what we saw in the WWF, but somehow I believe it was an ROH match. Bryan just being Bryan, like, hey, let's do something. And they did. And I believe Stokely is the ref in that match, if I'm not mistaken.
Why not? Why not?
Would you go for a CM Punk Randy Savage match, guys?
Yeah.
Would CM Punk just be doing the Savage the entire time? Like, would be a
Savage? I mean, that'd be like if you did Dax versus Brett.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I want to see. I want to see who's going to do the elbow first.
Okay.
CM Punk.
Dax versus Brett just trying to do each other's moves the whole time would be interesting.
Yes. I think that's and who's the matchup for Brett in the modern day? Brett against Danielson?
Probably.
Brett against
Rollins?
Brett against Rollins. Oh, you think that Seth can work?
I do. Yes, I know that. You don't?
As long as we're talking, if we're talking about Shield, I mean, the one that I wish we'd have gotten is Mick versus Mox.
Mick Mox.
Yeah.
It's funny, none of us mentioned Roman in any dream match scenario. He doesn't have a matchup. Roman again.
Roman Rock.
Very sly. Very sly.
Yeah, because the problem is, the matchup for Roman would be Hulk, and I just don't care about Hulk. Yeah.
I don't see that because we know what the finish is. That's why.
Yeah.
Spear, kick out, leg drop. Oh man.
Yeah. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, we would be really pissed off at the finish.
El Generico versus Sammy.
I'm in. Yep.
I'm in for that.
Yeah.
Check out the YouTube to hear talk about it. Of course, There
it is, right there, ready for you. He's been waiting for that his whole life.
Who would ever ask him about that? That's what a crazy question.
It was a great answer. You got to check it out on YouTube. Sammy against El Generico. Yeah. Terry Gordy against Kevin Owens. I mean, we can do this all day as far as matchup and size.
Is there a Hunter? Is there a Hunter matchup anywhere?
That's a great question. Hunter against
Cody?
Omega.
Ooh.
Oh.
I feel like we forget about Kenny.
That might be.
Yeah.
That's too fast for Triple H. I'm sorry. That's too fast.
Well, yeah.
That's too much.
Yeah, you mentioned Steen or Owens, however we're going to call him today. I would just love a Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen, ECW run. Let him go and do his thing.
Ooh. Just being himself and the language and all that. Listeners, viewers, go back and watch Kevin Steen.
Yep.
In ROH and in the Indies. That guy was rough. Yep. And it's funny, it's the same guy because Jim Cornette said you'll never make it because you're wearing basketball shorts and this top, and he'll never make it. And guess what? He's wearing the same thing, and he's over.
Yep. And wrestling Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania.
But he'll never make it because he's wearing basketball shorts. So, okay, Jim. Love you, Jim, but that's just a swing and a miss there. Horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala
Ric Flair? Any matchup for Rick?
In today's wrestling, who's slowing down enough for Rick to be able to? Yeah, who's doing that? Ric Flair at his size, 239 pounds, 240 at his peak.
Yeah, because I think you do it Ospreay's too fast. Bryan, I feel would slow it down enough.
Well, again, you could put Bryan against anyone.
Yeah. What about Flair and Gunther? Taker says he would make money with Gunther.
Ooh.
Well,
but the problem is, Ric Flair's heel versus heel.
Gunther would be the babyface somehow.
Also, just to preface, we're not saying today, Rick, don't get any ideas. Not
dear Lord. Oh God, no. If he gets in the match against Gunther, he's that's not ending well for anybody.
Gunther. He specialized in the big man match. He loved taking on bigger guys. Flair chopping. Oh my God, one chop by Gunther to Flair, dead.
That's it. It's all she wrote.
Again. Yeah.
Dead again.
Yeah.
Sir, it's time to get up, sir. It is time for the finish. Sir, it's time for the finish, sir.
Such a great story.
Not many people can say they've woken their father-in-law up from the dead to finish a wrestling match. So shout out to Andrade.
That's crazy.
Also,
what do we got? We got at news and notes.
All right, we mentioned earlier, Daniel Garcia made his return to AEW on Tuesday to reveal he is staying with the company. His contract reportedly is set to expire this month. Tony Khan said it's great for morale for the company to have a young star like him re-sign.
I would agree. Hopefully he gets involved in some pretty big storylines and he gets pushed going forward. I do just see him, if you'd have gone to WWE, I just kind of see him getting lost in the shuffle. It seems like they have so many big plans for a lot of things planned out. I think it's just tough if any free agent goes there right now to be involved in any sort of main event picture.
I feel like AEW in some ways is changing. I don't know if you noticed this on the TV show, but just kind of the way the layout is and some of the things they're doing is a little different than before, a little bit more storytelling. Watching Daniel Garcia in the ring, saying that, hey, I'm back and all that. I watched it and I didn't believe him. I didn't believe him because I can't 100% trust AEW Creative to make him anything different than a dude that has a name, Daniel Garcia, that wears a leather vest. I don't know what else. Because you know what, Gabe? I don't know who he is. That's the thing. We still, after 5 years, I don't know who he is. And that's part of the storytelling. Who is Daniel Garcia? He was in a car accident as a kid. Okay. And he's a good wrestler. And he was a sports entertainer. Now a wrestler. Now what? I don't know the answer to that.
I do wonder, to your point about them trying to tell more stories, now the security of the deal being done, can they slow down a little bit as opposed to like, oh, we gotta rush, gotta pop this week. Like maybe they can slow down a little bit now.
Yeah,
hopefully
that's the hope. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Because here's the thing, you're not in competition with anyone except yourselves.
Right.
WWE is way over here. Look, they're McDonald's. You're Burger King. What are you going to do about it? How do you make Burger King better if you're AEW? This is who you are.
Yeah. Some positive news at AEW. Adam Copeland revealing Tony Khan has sent Starlink devices to Asheville, North Carolina to help with Hurricane Helene relief efforts. Tony Khan also on the media call for Wrestle Dream says Copeland is directly helping FEMA on the ground in Asheville currently.
No shock, man. Just no shock. That's awesome. You love it to see when things that you care about, whether it's a wrestling company, whether it's a wrestler in particular, your sports team, anytime they rally together to help people who are in desperate need, it's awesome.
Also tells me he's ready for a run.
Yeah.
He's out there helping people. That means he's healthy enough to get in the ring. Get in the ring, Copeland. Let's go. Rated R. Yeah. By the way, speaking of that, so I didn't know how many wrestlers lived in that area.
Yeah.
Why Asheville?
That is a very odd, like they talked about that a lot. So obviously like Copeland, FTR, top of the list, but like travel very much impacted because the amount of guys and girls that live there. Interesting.
I didn't know that was a destination. I knew FTR lived in the area. I just didn't know it's not Charlotte, it's Asheville.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually the wrestlers live in Florida or Arizona but apparently that must be a hot spot now.
Raw on Netflix will debut January 6th. Fightful confirms that show is going to take place at the Intuit Dome in LA, the new home of the Clippers. John Cena has already said he will be there, and reports are that it will be a PLE quality show. No PLEs for WWE in December or January. Survivor Series takes place the end of November, Rumble February 1st. So all eyes on Netflix January 6th.
Said it months ago. I mean, now that it's behind a paywall at Netflix, there's no difference between that first Raw to me and a lot of the other PLEs they run. You want people to subscribe to Netflix, make that thing huge, make that big, make that Roman versus Rock, make that Roman or Cody versus Rock. I think that's what you do. I think you're going to see one of those two in the main event of that one.
That's going to be red carpet worthy. There's going to be stars there. This brand new place where the Clippers play. They've just put the Lakers stadium to the side and all these other places. They're going in the newest, hottest arena for the NBA. Good for them, man. They've earned it. They earned it. It's going to be sold out. It's going to be fun. I'm sure it will be.
And finally, news and notes. We've talked about dream matches. Well, Liv Morgan at her Fanatics event says her dream SummerSlam match, her and Dom versus CM Punk and AJ Lee. Also this week, we saw Roxanne Perez, Bayley, and Liv all tweeting at AJ on social, trying to peer pressure her to get back into the ring.
She's going to come back eventually, right?
I hope so.
I like to see her. But it's funny how she's just been away, not even an inkling of her wanting to come back into the ring.
There was an interview a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month ago. I can't remember who it was with, where she's just like, I don't even pay attention to what he's doing. Like, she doesn't even watch Raw. Like, she's not even like, they don't really talk about it when he gets home. Like, we've got other stuff going on. Don't even, which again, could all be a work. And she shows up, early January on Monday Night Raw. Who the hell knows? But, it seems like she's very disconnected from it all right now.
Is she not part of Women of Wrestling anymore?
No, she left that. Mm-hmm. She left that like over a year ago. Before even Punk got to WWE, she left that.
I don't even see it on my TV anymore. Are they even running it anymore? I don't even see it. It used to be.
I ran into it on a Saturday night a couple weeks ago when I was flipping around.
It's a random time. I haven't DVR'd. I don't know if I've ever watched a full episode. but it is in my DVR library.
It has a really glow look to it. I mean, gorgeous days of
Yeah.
wrestling, like that kind of overly fake wrestling, if I could use that. Like it's soft fake wrestling, just weird. If it's David McLean, that's usually what it looks like. That kind of wrestling.
According down here in South Florida, a new episode airs Sunday at 3 p.m. on CW.
So, right during the working hour.
Yeah. So a little Lifetime movie right into your women's of wrestling.
Is there stuff going on Sundays at 3 p.m.?
No.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, the WNBA.
All right. Baseball playoffs. See, so it's all the same model. We're good to go.
It is. It's the AEW model. It really is.
What did you boys have as your matches of the week, other than Punk and McIntyre inside the Hell in a Cell, which just delivered?
All right. Well, we thank everybody for watching. Good comment. So long, everybody. As we go dark, since we can't talk about the pay-per-view, well, actually, so I thought that Gunther and Sammy told a great story.
I did
Which
too.
isn't surprising.
It's not the finish you wanted, but it's just what happened. So
I managed expectations. I knew he wasn't going to be the champ.
At any point, did you think he was going to do it on Monday?
No, I refuse to let myself believe.
Really?
Yes.
That let me tell you that toward the end of that match, a lot of the 1 count kick out, like, oh
yeah, the
Dynamite.
one count kick out made me think,
if they would have put it on the
pay
per view, I would have believed a little bit. That would have hooked me a little bit more. We're like, maybe Atlanta, like, I never know.
He's a smart wrestling fan because he goes, well, lightning can't strike twice. There's no way it's going to be a title change on Raw again.
Exactly.
Right. So very good.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks. Yeah.
And by the way, that's okay. Like if it was on the PLE like it should have been, that would have been the finish then too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The finish is the finish. It just happened to be on Raw. So the main event for SmackDown, is that the ladder match?
The ladder match, yeah.
Ladder match, yeah.
For the tag team championships. Again, probably should have been on the PLE in Atlanta. Probably better than some of the mid-card matches that we saw on Bad Blood, but again, it's great for SmackDown.
Can we actually get some of those on there? I understand you want to keep the card tight, but was there too much downtime between matches for Bad Blood? Like, if we're going to have, like, you got to keep the card. If you're only going to have that many matches, then you have to make the PLE shorter or just add another match or two. There was just too much downtime, too many promos for my liking for the PLE.
I'm trying to look up who to actually credit, but I believe it was like an hour 30 of actual wrestling on the show this week.
On where? On Bad Blood?
On Bad Blood. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're just filling it with the sponsors and stuff. And God bless them, by the way, that they're making money. But what about us?
Right.
Like that match on SmackDown should have been on the PLE. It should have, quite frankly, should have led off the PLE.
Mm-hmm.
The tag team ladder match, but that's not the direction they wanted to go. Okay.
Another one I'll throw out from SmackDown. I love the dumpster match. Everything Chelsea Green touches is gold.
Underrated.
Yeah.
Again, I was just bitching about it, but I mean, then having her do the backstage segments at Bad Blood, like that was, tying it all together. That was pretty good as well. And then Piper just throwing her under the bus, like. Piper's like, nah, I'm sticking around. Get the hell out of here.
She stinks, man, and that's a win that Meechin needed.
Yes,
quite frankly,
yes,
she needed that win, but that's what they say. Well, we've got this mid card thing for you. Okay, we'll make it our own, and we're going to kick ass for the time. And I'm proud of those two women because it's like, here's a blow off match. Okay, well we're gonna be great at it. How about that?
Well, again, the promo, the leading up to it, the week before on SmackDown, when she's doing she's going in the dumpster, throwing it all out, dressed all up, saying, "I don't think it's fair. I have to wrestle in Meechin's home turf." Like, just again, great stuff from Chelsea. She just continues to kill it.
Yes, and she told us it's not about her getting a championship. She just wants to tell us compelling stories and have fun and make money, obviously.
And she is doing that in spades with whatever WWE gives her. I think they are very lucky to have Chelsea Green in what she is doing right now. I hope that gets rewarded with something down the line as well. Like again, they almost had me. I thought Money in the Bank was a possibility. They almost had me back earlier this summer.
I know we have listeners in Florida, by the way, and we wish them well with all this, the hurricanes and Milton, and that's going on right now. As we've been doing the show, I've been looking up over my shoulder the coverage. Somehow Brian, he's got a house made of stone. That he's not floated away, so God bless him. And he's able to make the show. Maybe, are you doing it on a sailboat? Are you on a boat?
No, not sailboat. We're on the East Coast. This was a West Coast storm, but yeah, there was that time we're like, oh, is it going to happen? But the kids got a couple days off of school. So we got that out of it.
Gabe and I just don't understand. We don't understand how you're not doing this show in Atlanta. Someplace running away.
Someplace far, far away from Florida.
I just don't understand how you're doing the show there. Gabe and I here in the confines of the Midwest. Nice and comfortable, cozy. And you, any moment now, anything can happen.
We're at the point now where we get fall weather. The storm passes through and then the temperature drops a little bit. So that's where we get.
That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
Gabe and I would be running to Boise. We would be out of here.
I would be nowhere near. But again, Brian is. So many things to get ready for. Again, WWE moving on as they get ready for Crown Jewel. We have Wrestle Dream this weekend. I promise you, we'll talk about it all next week.